Hello everyone, welcome back to my video. This is Kim with K Montes Art Studio. Join me as I explore different mixed medias. So jumping right into the video, I select an image from Plein Air magazine. I then use my brush pens, some Caran d'Ache color pencils. I use my art crayons from Marabou, and I also use my 3-in-1 Stabilo pencils. I'm testing things out and seeing how things layer. I however notice that the paper that I'm using, it's a toned mixed media paper. It's just not absorbing properly. It's not allowing the colors to blend, but I did want to keep trying. I did like the effect that it created in this first landscape. In the second landscape image, I create myself. I have a road leading to the mountains and a little shed off to the side. I start off with my Marabou art crayons and start to layer things with my water pen. I also add in some brush pen marks to see if that creates some sort of dynamic views. I also noticed that at this point the road was entirely too dark, so I went in with my Caran d'Ache Luminance color pencils to try to neutralize things. It just wasn't working out and I accepted it for what it was, but I did enjoy that little quick landscape experiment. So moving into the second portion of the video, I've had this video for some time and I've been sitting on reviewing the Van Gogh watercolors, and these are student grade watercolor, and let's just say that you can tell they're student grade. So immediately I realized how much binder was released from each tube. I did try to blend to make sure that I had enough pigment that was released along with the binder. So as I'm pouring the Payne's Gray, I noticed something immediately wrong. All that came out was binder with a little bit of pigment. You can see the transparency in the watercolor, and it just didn't feel right. So I wiped things off and I tried to squeeze the tube and make sure that things were blended well, which tends to happen with a lot of tubes. Things run down to the bottom, things being the pigments, and the binder tends to float up to the top. I'm not sure why that happens. I don't know the science behind that, but I made sure that I squeezed the tube and got things blended in there and tried it again. Unfortunately, things still look the same, so I just assumed that that's how the color was made, and maybe it was meant to be very transparent. So pouring the turquoise green, I immediately noticed the binder being released from the tube. The binder came out as almost an olivey green, and I knew this to be a turquoise color. Well, at least I hoped it was the color I said it was. And as I poured things out, the binder still came out, but towards the end of the pour, I noticed that the pigment was finally being released. So I tried it again with my neutral tint, and things still did not release the way I expected things to. So I just kind of gave up on the neutral tints and moved on to my Davies gray, and again was disappointed. So far this review had started off on the wrong foot. Jumping into the first swatch, the lavender, you can tell that things are extremely transparent, and once again I'm disappointed. At this point I'm really trying to make things work. I'm hoping that, maybe I need more paint on the brush, but what I noticed is that the watercolors feel almost gouache-like in that they are very sticky and not as smooth. However, I'm trying to be understanding because I know that these are student grade paints, but it's just not looking good. So I figured I'd say something about the scar on my hand. I was attacked by my refrigerator. I was putting my groceries away and accidentally scraped myself with the shelf, and it was a pretty bad cut, as you can tell. So if any of you are wondering, this scab shows in 2 different videos, so I figured I'd explain. So moving into the Naples yellow red, I can say that the color is a little off. I'm not sure about pigments and different things like that. I don't really follow pigment colors as much as I do the actual name of the color, but it just didn't seem proper to the true Naples yellow red. I could be wrong, but again, not loving it. However, the texture of this Naples yellow was very different than the lavender. So moving into the color that has been giving me the most trouble for this review the whole time, the neutral tints. Immediately I noticed the amount of binder in this color. It is supposed to be transparent, however, I am just not understanding the tackiness in this watercolor. I don't know if that's their signature style, but so far I've tested 3 of them, so I'm gonna keep on going in hopes that they're not all the same. But this review is not looking too good. So moving into raw sienna, I noticed that the color is accurate, the pigment is there, the binder is not. Another inconsistency, so this one seems to be much more smoother, more watercolor-like. You can see how the neutral tint is still very shiny compared to the raw sienna. And I'm trying so hard to work with this neutral tint, and it's just not working. And I just give up on it. You'll see what I do at the end. So moving into the color that drew me into this collection of Van Gogh watercolors, the turquoise green. I really had a lot of hope for this color, and I'm at a loss for words. That's what I am. I am really disappointed at the amount of binder this has. I'm also using my very high quality watercolor paper, the Hanamula 300 gram 140 pound paper. So this is good quality paper. I would say very student grade also, but very high quality at the same time. So I expected things to absorb a little bit better, and you can just notice how much binder is in this turquoise. Like, the water is floating on top of the paper. The color looks like I've added a medium to create it to be that shiny. I mean, I'm just over it at this point. I'm sure that I won't be buying these anymore. I'm sorry, I don't like to talk badly about things, but it's just not worth it. Like, there's so many other better student grade watercolors out there. So I felt like there was no need to go through the rest of the colors because it was the same comments, the same issues for the last final colors. And you'll notice that I just am over it, and I just blend all the colors together, and I'm just wondering what color will all of these colors make. I did get very disappointed in the Davies gray, which I've noticed from other companies that it is a little green. It shows green here. It's the last color on the sheet. It's very light. I expected it to be more on the olivey gray side, but again, I don't have a proper professional Davies gray to compare that to. The Payne's gray was true to its color. I did expect the Payne's gray to be very dark and almost a blue undertone. And you see here, at this very moment, I'm testing if the color is dry, and you notice that the turquoise green is still completely wet. At this point, I've been working with these watercolors for about an hour, and that is just unacceptable. I had no idea that these would be this way. I really just got these on my art haul, and I expected them to be better because the worker there mentioned she was interested in trying them and she hadn't heard how they were, and I, decided to test them out. So at this point, I added in some Marabou art crayons to see how things work with the mixed media experiment. I did like how the Marabous blended easily with the watercolors and how things reconstituted. So that was nice to see. You can see that with the lavender and the red that I added, it created sort of a magenta color. And the red with the Naples yellow red created sort of an orangey tone. I did add white to my neutral tint. The pigment is still not there. I'm just so disappointed in all of these colors, but I'm going to continue this review until the very end. So I am just really hoping for these. I even used my good brushes. I used my Princeton, Velvet Touch brushes, and nothing happens. So as I continue this experiment of mixed media, trial and error with this Van Gogh, I was really trying to give them my all. I am just I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words at this point. I was really trying everything, like maybe hoping that they could be used for an undertone. I hate buying art supplies and not using them, so I was trying to think of other ways that they could be used, even though they're so poor quality. I was thinking that maybe they could be used for like staining the paper, or using it as a base tone for the watercolor paper or something. I don't know. I was trying to think of other things. I even pulled out my golden so flat paint to try to experiment with that and see if they could somehow work well with that. Let's just say I won't be using these. Like, I definitely recommend a different student grade. I don't know what that other student grade. Oh yes, Winsor & Newton. I definitely recommend Winsor & Newton as a student grade watercolor. Just don't buy these Van Gogh watercolors. To conclude this review and experiment with mixed medias, I would say I give the Van Gogh watercolors a whopping score of 1 out of 10. I am not a harsh critic. I really do try to give a fair chance to different mediums that tend to be student grades, but I am completely disappointed in the amount of binder, and these weren't cheap. I think I paid maybe $5 a tube. So I would say I recommend the Winsor & Newton student grade over these. I tried everything possible. I mixed acrylic paints, my Posca pens, I mixed my Marabou art crayons. I do wish I tried the color pencils, but I didn't have them at this point. Long story short, I do not recommend these at all, and just try something different. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please watch my previous videos and like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. I'll definitely have more in the new year, and I look forward to seeing you all.